Wokingham Today is hosting a series of interviews with party leaders ahead of the local elections. Joining us today is Councillor John Halsall, leader of the council and leader of the Conservative group. John, I'd like to ask you first, what motivates you as a local politician?
Well, I came to be a politician by accident. I came to the area some 60 years ago through rowing and have lived where I do for 40. My wife and I brought up 3 children, all of whom went to local schools. I never considered being a politician. I was too busy with work, family and sporting interests. My neighbour and closest friend asked me to make up the list for a parish council and I said no. He insisted, and we had a succession of borough councillors, some 8 and 11 years, not sufficient time to become acquainted with issues. So I decided either Dick, the long-standing chairman of Wargrave Parish Council, or I had to stand to give some continuity. He didn't want to, so I stood, and I've had the honour of being the borough councillor for Remenham, Wargrave and Ruscombe since 2011. My interest is preserving and enhancing the best in our community and environment and improving the quality of life of all who live here. I am thankful every day for my good fortune to live in such a beautiful place with such truly wonderful people. And if I can share the joy that I have for living with my fellows and make their lives better so that they also feel the happiness that I do, I think I will have done a good job.
John, can you tell me, what do you think sets your group apart from the others?
The council is the golden thread that runs through our borough, the indispensable partner for our businesses and residents. Diversity, equality, anti-racism and addressing need must be the heart of everything we do and of the example we set. No rational person would take another point of view. Every one of our residents must be able to lead the life that he or she wishes without fear from harm and without harming others. The Conservative administration takes responsibility for what we do and what has been delegated by the council to others, which provides the essential means to achieve the goal of keeping our residents safe, secure and happy. Combining the work we do with our health sector, the voluntary sector and the emergency services, we should make a material difference to the residents' lives. The increase in violent crime in Wokingham town reported by your paper and domestic violence underwrites this need. Our goal is to provide the best quality services and best value for money possible. It is residents' money the council spends. The residents deserve to know that it is being wisely spent and prudently wherever it is required. Our ambition is to make the borough the best place to live, learn, work, grow and do business in Britain. This ambition has been broken down into 30 specific targets, which is the council's community vision, is enumerated in the medium-term financial plan, detailed in the corporate delivery plan, all published on the website, and is the basis of the key performance indicators for each department and officer in the council, so that delivery is monitored and enabled. The heart of the plan is solid financial management, which enables ambitious operational strategies to be achieved. We call this our Conservative promise. The immediate challenge is to ensure that we move quickly to economic and social recovery without losing all the benefits of COVID recovery.
Thank you, John. If you had to characterise your party candidates by just one word, what would it be?
Hardworking. Move quickly to economic and social recovery without losing all the benefits of COVID recovery.
Thank you, John. If you had to characterise your party candidates by just one word, what would it be?
Hardworking.
All right, thank you. So the first topic I'd like to discuss is climate and environment. And I wanted to ask, what will your party do specifically within the next year to work towards the net zero carbon emission goal by 2030?
Well, let me say, it is irrefutable that mankind is doing severe harm to the planet. And we have a duty to do all we can with for current and future generations. According to your newspaper, I was the first council leader to declare a climate emergency in 2019, whereby we resolved Wokingham Borough Council believes the world is now in a climate emergency and more concerted and urgent action is needed at local, national and international level to protect our planet for future generations. As such, this council commits to playing as full a role as possible and lead by example as well as exhortation in achieving carbon neutral Wokingham. But I must emphasize that we cannot achieve carbon neutrality on our own. It must be in concert with central government and the international community. It is a huge, huge subject. The impact of any individual is small, but if we all play our part, it will quickly gather momentum. If the US, China, Brazil, and India join in this, there is hope that we can halt and reverse the harm. History tells us mankind is very adaptable and capable of achieving the unthinkable. An example is the remarkable and courageous government-sponsored development of COVID vaccines, an achievement unparalleled in Europe. But if there is a will, we have only started to scratch the surface and accept that we need to do more and more. But what we are doing at WBC is plant hundreds of thousands of trees, using alternative energy, including solar power, driving up the level of recycling, helping to eliminate the use of single plastics, protecting as much green spaces across the borough as we can, building housing with the latest energy-saving technology and materials, and facilitating electric vehicles, and working with schools to get the message across. But there's much more we can do. And as the agenda develops, and it is a dynamic agenda which has to develop, other things will take precedence and other things will be dropped out.
How will this affect residents in the next year?
Climate change is a huge and arduous issue which is going to dominate our politics and our lives for the next 30 years and probably more. But actually, it will not affect the residents in the short term, or it shouldn't, but it will affect the residents in the medium to long term.
Talking about the short term, we've recently switched from black boxes to recycling bags now as part of a move to boost recycling rates. Now, this was done without consultation. How many other decisions might be made without a consultation?
Well, it's not true that it was done without consultation. There was extensive studies undertaken, and a consultant was engaged in.
So when I mean consultation, I mean with residents.
No, there was extensive consultation with residents. What you mean is there was no borough-wide consultation, and that's true. And the reason for that is that we were faced with a huge problem of wet waste, which was costing the borough many hundreds of thousands of pounds at a time when our finances were very stretched and coping with COVID. So we needed to do something. But actually, my green bags have arrived, and I'm absolutely delighted with the green bags and what they look like, and the consultants were actually right.
Will there be other decisions made that don't involve residents as much?
There's always decisions made which do not require consultation.
All right, thank you, John. I'd like to talk now about housing and about planning. Residents are often concerned about a lack of infrastructure. That is a common concern when new developments pop up. What could your party do to improve this?
We're a local authority. We don't control the world, and we don't even control England. We're a local authority, and our perspective is Wokingham Borough. We can do things within our local borough, but we cannot do things which we're not authorized to do. We are extremely disappointed that we configured strategic development locations with medical centres, but the CCGs and the other health bodies decided they didn't want to do that. So it really wasn't within our remit, and we can't affect that.
Thank you, John. Something that perhaps you can affect. Under 30s are increasingly being priced out when it comes to both rent and house prices for purchase. Is there anything you can do beyond existing plans to make homes more affordable for younger adults?
Yes, it is fundamental to the local plan that the houses that we're building will skew towards smaller units for first-time buyers and for downsizing for people who wish to downsize. We're also building some 1,000 council managed homes in the next 4 years, which will be rental properties, which will be accessible to people who need to live in the borough. We are extremely committed to making sure that the borough retains the mix of residents that it's historically had.
If you're committed to it, why weren't there any affordable homes in the Carnival Pool development? What does that say to developers about what they can do here?
Well, each development has to be taken on its own merits, and I think just pulling out one example is unreasonable. We have 40% of affordable homes in the current local plan, which we've stuck rigidly by and defended in appeal.
But not those ones.
It's a single development. It's also true that a load of developments will be more affordable homes, and a load of developments will be less affordable homes.
Thank you, John. What's your biggest priority with the local plan update?
Our biggest priority with the local plan update is to get it done. We can only contest speculative development through having a approved local plan. With speculative development, we receive no infrastructure funds, and we cannot control any part of the development. So we need to have a fully approved local plan. Our mantra is the right homes in the right places at the right price.
Thank you. I'd also like to talk about regeneration and businesses. I mean, in Wokingham, there are a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that have set up their own business, even in the pandemic. How has your party been supporting these people?
Before I can answer that, just a footnote on planning. It is dog in the manger stuff to say that you must have a local plan which doesn't conform to inspectors' guidelines. It has to be approved by inspectors. South Oxford has got into a lot of trouble by having a plan which was a departure from the inspectors' approval, and therefore the Minister of Housing and Local Government stepped in and made them adopt a plan. So our local plan, much as we might not like the housing numbers, and I don't, every green field I find a loss if we lose green fields. Unfortunately, we have to build some houses, and the quantity of houses is determined by central government, and there's a large number of the population who believes that we should be building houses because, as you say, they want to own their own house or to live in a house. Right. What have we done to support the businesses? We've done a huge amount in the last year with COVID and with the businesses in the borough. We've dispensed, I don't have the up-to-date figures in my mind, but it's some 60 million, I believe, which is a huge amount of money. In terms of the borough, we didn't put anybody on furlough, we redeployed people. In our next stance must be to ensure, well, in answer to the first question, which is what did we do in the pandemic, you will know we applied all the government strictures very quickly and very efficiently. Part of which was the rates holiday. The follow-on of that question is, what are we going to do in the recovery? And in the recovery, we've got two positions, but we're very fortunate because our town centres are very vibrant. What we did with Wokingham Town Centre and was to have a range of tenants who seems to have been very resilient through this very, very difficult time. And we've had very few rental voids. In fact, we're letting properties currently. We've got very, very few vacancies. And I'm really pleased to see that the town centre is coming back to life quickly, as are our other two town centres. The anchor stores have been trading throughout that period, and happily, I can see a situation where recovery will be very quick. In terms of the general population, we're doing a number of things. We, as you know, have set up an employment hub in Wokingham Town because of the absence of a job centre. We're looking at training people in the hospitality sector into the care sector. But most importantly, we've been working hard over the last 2 years to generate new jobs. And I'm happy to say that the Shinfield Studios were pleased to announce the approval of the planning application and the establishment of Shinfield Studios, which will be some 5,000 new jobs in the area. And they're good, futuristic jobs. We have in the pipeline some other round about another 10 to 15,000 jobs, which we're looking to attract to the borough. Again, long-term jobs, which will play a major role in regenerating the economy.
You mentioned the town centres. What vision do you have for the other towns and villages outside of Wokingham Town Centre?
Well, that is a, hang on, let me, there is a popular perception that all the money goes to Wokingham Town. Nothing goes to Woodley, Earley or Twyford. This is far from the truth. During this administration in Woodley alone, in 2 years, we have invested £30 million plus. We've built the £40 million Belmarsh Leisure Centre, extended Addington School, 4.4 million, protected the town centre by purchasing the freehold of Waitrose for £10 million, and various smaller town centre projects. Early has benefited from a huge investment in Loddon Hall. In Twyford, we've invested some 20 million through the building of a new library, a project, incidentally, which was purely due to this Conservative administration, protecting the town centre by purchasing the freehold of the two major stores, and working to improve the air quality in Twyford. We are in a position where in both Woodley and Twyford, we could establish some regeneration should that be desired. Wokingham Town Centre regeneration, by contrast, has been paid for by development contributions, rental income and housing sales. When we made the decision, I think we had 10 charity shops in Wokingham Town Centre. It was dying, with more companies and shops moving out than in. It was a town which was looking and feeling tired. We decided the council had to lead the project to get the right outcome. We bucked the trend, not our words, but independent agents, and have 95% of the units rented or under offer. I will admit that it has been difficult, but it all bodes well for the future. The homes are beginning to sell well for above budgeted prices. The evidence for how much the residents like what we have done is in Elmsfield or Peach Place on any day. Just look at the number of people using the facilities. The other thing, the profits going forward will allow us to fund other town centres in the borough and council services.
Okay, thank you, John. I'd like to change topics now and talk to you about children, about our health and our well-being, and services related to this. So my first question is about whether you think that there is a link between antisocial behaviour and a lack of youth services.
Of course there's a link, but it depends what a lack of youth services means and antisocial behaviour means.
How would you define
I wouldn't be the person to define it. We have pioneered working with other partners in the borough. We pioneered working with the health sector, and we pioneered working with voluntary sector through the COVID crisis. Now we wish to, and I wish to, as a personal project, extend that partnership working to the police, and part of that is bringing the remit for antisocial behaviour from the PPP into house. We need, through our neighbourhoods project, and you are well aware of our community ambitions through the neighbourhoods project, that we can take part of antisocial behaviour through our localities teams, but we need to have a seamless move into the police. Badly expressed. In my time, we've employed a community safety manager, an antisocial behaviour manager, a domestic violence manager. All three are very, very important if we are to achieve our ambition of keeping our residents safe, secure and happy.
what could you do for young people?
What more could I do for young people? Really, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the model, the youth centre model, which was traditional, is a model which fits today. I was a pioneer in ensuring the survival of the Twyford Youth Centre. And whilst we've got the facilities there and we've got the staff there and we've got the enthusiasm there, young people don't find that environment that appealing anymore.
Okay.
So I think it's beyond my pay grade. Now, what your question is, do I think that we should be doing something in this area? The answer is yes. Of course we should be doing something in this area, because we are, as reported in your papers, seeing antisocial behaviour on a trend upwards. And therefore we need to understand what is causing that, and to try and focus on it and try to alleviate it.
Okay, thank you. What about well-being for, the community at whole?
Well, we're doing a huge amount to support it. The COVID pandemic and all the stuff that we did through that pandemic indicates the very large reach the borough council has in the community. We are focused on, I meet the GPs once a week, I meet the health sector once a week, I listen into the meetings of the voluntary sector and intervene when appropriate. And with this partnership working that we've pioneered, we are now achieving some amazing things. Our focus is on mental health, loneliness, mobility. Our leisure centres, which are really second to none, are helping the mobility aspects. Loneliness, we're looking at through our community teams, but we're also working with the Link service, which is trying to ensure that people are not left isolated. And as you know, I raised a considerable amount of money to bring Mind to the borough. It's an area where we will never do enough, but the fact that we are the healthiest authority in the UK, allegedly, must say that we've done a reasonably good job over the last 20 years. And we mustn't be complacent, because there's always lots more to do.
Talking about health, there was an issue raised about air quality recently, that in some areas it was concerning. Now that affects our lungs. We've spent a year worrying about our lungs with the virus. What more can be done in this area?
Well, I think it's a little bit referring to last year's problem rather than this year's problem. Air quality has been improving, not for anything that we've done, to be honest, though we've put signs up to say cut your engines and such like. The two areas are Wokingham and Twyford Cross. The latest measurements suggest that the air quality has improved immeasurably. You say, well, of course it would have done, because of COVID and the fact that we've all been locked down, not driving our cars. But it's also improving because cars are significantly better. The new diesels with Blue Me have emissions which are cleaner than even petrol engines. The old diesels are getting more and more scarce. Trucks are cleaner, but not as good as cars. So the air quality is improving anyway. And if the government is serious about its target of vehicles being entirely electric in the not too distant future, then it will improve. But in Twyford and in Wokingham, we've got two studies, quite some significant studies, to see what we can do in the short term. We've done a load of stuff in Twyford. You will see the living lampposts, which does quite a lot. funnily enough, ivy is fantastic in achieving air cleanliness. We think we can do something about the phasing of the traffic lights, which would improve the traffic flow, but the biggest thing that we can do is to keep traffic moving, because traffic stuck causes enormous problems with air quality.
What can be done to alleviate that congestion?
Lots, and we've been working on it for some time now. It's called the Intelligent Traffic Scheme. Our strategy is based upon optimizing the use of our network, quicker, smarter, better. Our Intelligent Traffic Scheme is working on 4 strategic themes: making the traffic free-flowing, smarter, multimodal, and engaged. And there's a lot of documentation on that, but it really is saying, if we can get our traffic flowing more freely, then the environmental effect is less, and people are less frustrated. We have the disadvantage of having the highest vehicle population per household in the country, and not only that, but the highest second vehicle population in the country, which is not very helpful. And the borough being 17 different communities, which don't lend themselves to be linked by public transport easily, is not helpful. But vehicle design is helpful, and vehicle design will change the paradigms. And what we're doing in terms of using technology to make traffic move more intelligently will also help a great deal.
Now,
you will have seen a
I
huge
understand.
capital budget for that in our capital budgets.
Aside from driving, a lot of money has been invested in the Greenways scheme. Now, it might just be used as more of a leisure activity for families to enjoy. Is it right to pump all that money into that sort of thing as opposed to our roads?
It's a very, very current debate, and I'm sure you will have heard it being rehearsed on the Today program this morning, that if you're going to achieve climate change objectives, why spend any money on roads? But if you, as I have been, go around the borough door knocking, the issue uppermost in everybody's minds is congestion and roads. So I don't think we can say to our residents, we hear you, but we're not going to do anything about it because it's bad for climate change. So yes, we have to continuously improve our roads, but we also must improve the multimodal ability for people to get around. And the greenways are likely to be the lungs of the borough. They're integral to the green spaces, the huge number of green spaces which we are protecting within the borough, and is integral to the health of the people who use them. So it's always a balance. Yes, it's always a balance, and we can never do everything we want. You don't have an infinite amount of money.
Speaking about safety and road safety particularly, Wokingham Today has reported on the road safety of the A327 Reading Road, Finchampstead 5 times in 10 months, but the issue was actually raised in March 2019, so just over 2 years ago now. And residents are feeling like they're just not being responded to quickly. Is 2 years an appropriate time to wait for these things things to be.
But remind me where the A327 is. Are you talking about Graiseley?
No, I'm talking about between St Hampstead and Eversley as you come into the borough.
You've lost me because I'm not sure what article you're referring to.
Okay, well, regardless of the article, do you think that residents are having their concerns met appropriately when it comes to timeframes?
Obviously not. But doing things about roads is usually complicated. It usually involves consultation. You referred to making decisions without consultation. Usually, any decision which was appropriate to a road needs consultation. Very often, or usually, the police are involved and they have their own processes. So, no, we can't just do things instantaneously.
Okay, thank you, John. I would now like to invite you just for a minute summation and to directly address the voters of Wokingham.
For 19 years, the Conservative Woking Borough Council has balanced the budget, invested for the future, and delivered economic growth and prosperity for all our residents. As a direct result of our leadership, the borough is recognised as one of the top places to live in the United Kingdom, the healthiest, has one of the lowest employment rates, the Silicon Valley of Britain, and the Hollywood of Europe. Whilst other councils have cut services, we have innovated, sought additional sources of income to offset government funding cuts, and successfully delivered our promises to you, our residents, businesses, charities, communities. Unsurprisingly, we are exceptionally proud of all that we have achieved for you over the last 2 decades, particularly the council's outstanding performance during the COVID pandemic. But we're not complacent. We have an ambitious vision for the future we want to deliver to you. The Conservative promise outlined is in our vision for the future. It will take Wokingham to 2030 and beyond. It is a vision for services for our old age, as well as for younger residents. It is a vision for future investment in our services and our communities. We believe that this is a future that you deserve in this borough. If this is the future you want, we need you to do something for us. We need you to vote Conservative on May the 6th, 2021. Thank you.